Hey everyone, it's me, BaNAuset of kemeticwellness.com. I want to say hi to all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I see each and every one of you and I really appreciate it. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload another video on this channel. And just so you know, the main topic on this channel is African health and wellness and spirituality. So you're going to be getting new videos from me on those topics very regularly. So I want to talk a little bit about what a sacred woman is. Now, for those of you who are not aware, Sacred Woman is a program, a rites of passage that was created by my teacher, my Jegna, Queen of Four. And it is a cultural rites of passage that follows the Kemetic traditions, which is ancient Africa in the area that's known today as Egypt. And what inspired me to take this rites of passage and to go through this program was basically my upbringing, the things that I saw in my community, which I'm going to talk a little bit about today, because that's my transformation. This is how I got here, is going from a woman who was ignorant about who I was and my culture, my healing, and therefore experiencing a lot of things that I did not have to experience. So going from that to being a sacred woman, one who is aware and taking care of myself. So I grew up in the Bronx, New York during the 80s with my mother and my sister in a one-bedroom apartment in the hood on East 184th and Marion. There was a time that I saw a lot of things that were very heavy, very harsh. I saw drugs in my community. You know, I grew up during the crack epidemic. I saw homelessness. I saw young women, girls, become pregnant at a very, very young age. I saw women abandoned by the men who impregnated them and pretty much having to be mom and dad at the same time. I saw men being harassed by police. I saw men being arrested and taken away from their families. And I understood then that a lot of what we were experiencing was just us being in a state of ignorance. And it was not a self-imposed ignorance. Much of this is a generational curse which has been passed on to us. It's been several generations, hundreds of years of oppression due to slavery and racism. And the results of that is still evidenced in our community by the music that we listen to, by the words that we speak to each other, which a lot of times is very foul, disrespectful. The way that we even eat, not knowing how to care for ourselves, eating food that we know is making us sick with heart disease and diabetes and strokes and, you know, all different types of health conditions. The way that we relate to each other, the problems that we see, you know, very often in the Black community between men and women. I saw things that was evidence of ignorance with women in the way that we carried ourselves. I saw a lot of things that let me know how ignorant we were as a people, including myself growing up. Women who may have been promiscuous or getting pregnant at a very early age, or, you know, the way that we would speak sometimes when we got upset at, you know, as a woman, to be going off on somebody at the mouth every time you get upset rather than having proper communication. You know what I mean? That was a symptom of a woman who is a little girl who doesn't know herself and is throwing a temper tantrum, or a man who doesn't know how to handle himself, take care of himself, and doesn't understand that his role as a man is being a provider. So, you know, operating really as a grown boy, where you get a woman pregnant and then you just leave her to handle the situation and you never look back and think about it. So I saw the evidence of us being in a state of ignorance, and I started to see that in my own life as well, in the things that I was experiencing in relationships. I realized that I had no idea how to vet men. I had no idea how to qualify a man to date me. I had no idea who I was and what I was supposed to be getting in a relationship, what was toxic, when to walk away from a relationship, how to care for myself mentally and spiritually, so that I wasn't looking for somebody else to give me something that I was really supposed to be giving myself. You know, even in the neighborhood that I was in, I developed a way of relating to people as a protection mechanism. You know, I didn't look at people walking on the street. That's still something that I have to break myself out of at times, because if you know, growing up in the hood, eye contact can be a big thing, you know, especially in New York. You make eye contact with a man for more than 2 seconds, he's following you down the street. Baby, can I get your number? Can I get your number? You know, now you got a stalker on your hands just because you looked at somebody for 2 seconds too long. As a woman, you experience that with other women too. You may look at a woman and what you looking at? You know, and next thing you know, just somebody want to fight you just because you looked at them. You may have liked her shoes, you may have thought she was pretty, but this is how we related to each other, and this is how a lot of people in the Black community relate to each other when they are in a state of ignorance. And it is not a self-imposed state of ignorance. This is a result of several hundred years of oppression and racism, and the systems and the people who imposed this state of being upon us did it so that we could remain ignorant, so that we could be used as slaves, and we never got healing for these things that we experience. We never got healing from that, and so many of us are still operating from a place of ignorance. So that was my inspiration for going through Sacred Woman. So let me talk a little bit about what Sacred Woman actually is, okay? A sacred woman is a woman who knows herself, not just your likes, your dislikes, you know, those type of things, those type of superficial things, but you know yourself as a Black woman. You know your culture. You know the things that keep you in health mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You know how to relate to other people so that you get what you need out of your life, and so that you have better relationships. You learn how to carry yourself as a woman so that you're not acting as a grown girl, or dealing with grown boys. You understand? So in the Sacred Woman program, it's a 12-week program that takes you through certain gateways, several different gateways, 12 to be specific, that are rooted in ancient Nile Valley culture. Okay? So in Sacred Woman, there are 12 weeks, and in each of the weeks, you're going through a particular gateway that is guarded by a principle, an ancient Kemetic principle. Some may call them gods and goddesses, but that's really a misnomer. They are ancient principles, just like gravity. Gravity is not a god or a goddess. Gravity is a principle. It's a law. Okay, and each of the guardians takes you through a particular gateway. So gateway 0 is about the sacred womb. It's about ridding yourself of womb calamity and receiving womb wellness. The guardian is the Necheret Nut. Now, Nut is the sky guardian. Nut is the sky mother, depicted as a woman hovering over the earth, and painted in stars, just like the sky that we see. And every day, Nut swallowed the sun in the evening and gave birth to the sun in the morning. So Nut is the guardian for the gateway of the womb. The next gateway is Jehuti. And Jehuti is the principle of articulate speech, articulate thoughts, and articulate writing. So this gateway is particularly about helping us overcome deficiencies in the throat chakra, whether it is over speaking, cursing too much, speaking negatively over your own life. Jehuti is a guide through the gateway of sacred words and sacred communication. The next gateway is guarded by Ta'ert, and it is sacred foods. Now, Ta'ert is the nature that's represented or depicted as a hippopotamus with long breasts. And Ta'ert was pretty much a protector of women and children, especially during childbirth. Okay, so Ta'ert is the guardian guiding you through the gateway of sacred foods. And that's one of the things that you learn in Sacred Woman, is how to eat for wellness. It's not a diet. You're not learning how to diet. You're learning how to eat. A lot of us think that just because you put something in your mouth that is healthy and that you're eating. No, a lot of things that you're eating is actually making you sick mentally and physically. And so Ta'ert is a guardian that helps you to go through the gateway of sacred food. Ta'ert was a fierce protector of women and children, especially during childbirth. And the long breast was a symbol of Ta'ert's ability to nourish and nurture. The next gateway is sacred movement. And the guardian for sacred movement is Bes. Now, Bes was depicted as a dwarf man, and Bes represents playfulness, childlike behavior, music, dance, movement. Bes is basically like the clown, class clown, but Bes was also a protector of women. And so you use this guardian as a gateway through movement. Movement is something that's very, very important for you as a woman, especially in African culture, through dance. The next gateway is sacred beauty. And sacred beauty is guarded by Het Heru. The Greeks called Het Heru Hathor, but the ancient name, the original name, is Het Heru. And Het Heru was represented by a woman with a solar disc and cow horns. Cows were also a symbol of fertility as well. And Het Heru represents all things that express feminine beauty and grace. So adornment, makeup, fashion, jewelry, all of these things are symbols of Het Heru, and Het Heru is a guide for women to express their own sacred beauty, to understand as a woman that it's not appropriate for you to walk out the street with clothing that doesn't represent you well, whether that is a bonnet on your head and some house slippers and sweatpants on, or with, you know, a bathing suit top and some shorts that have too many things hanging out. You know, Het Heru is a guide to dress yourself as a woman in the way that you want to be treated and in the way that you want to be received by the world. The next gateway is sacred space, and sacred space is represented by the guardian Nebuchadnezzar. The Greeks call Nebuchadnezzar Nephthys, but the ancients called her Nebuchadnezzar. That's her original name. And Nebuchadnezzar is really the best friend energy. In ancient Kemetic mythology, Nebuchadnezzar was the sister to Aset, and she helped Aset recover the lost parts of her slain husband's body, helped her put the body back together and recover her husband from a state of death to one of resurrection, so that good could be upon the land once again. So the name Nebuchadnezzar also means mistress or master of the house. So Nebuchadnezzar is a guardian for you to keep your home in divine alignment. Keep your home clean. Keep your home organized. You have several temples, okay? One of your temples is your home. The first temple that you have is your body. Your body is your first temple. And the next one is your living space. So your living space has to be in one that's, you know, clutter-free, that is clean, that invites goodness into your life. And so Nebuhet is a guide as the mistress of the house to teach you how to keep your home sacred and to make your home a sacred space. The next gateway is sacred healing. And this is one of the most important and is guarded by Sekhmet. Now, Sekhmet was one of the most powerful laws and principles coming out of ancient Kemet, and it was depicted as a lioness with the head of a woman. And Sekhmet's energy is one that is fierce against all things that are evil. Sekhmet had the ability to heal. She was a very intense healer, okay, as well as the ability to kill with plagues for anything that was evil or out of ma'at, out of a state of balance, harmony, righteousness, truth. Sekhmet was a destroyer of evil, fierce destroyer of evil, and so is a very important guardian towards your own healing, how to destroy those things that are within you that are causing you illness, and how to heal yourself once again. Sekhmet is the guardian teaching you how to overcome being a broken woman and to become a medicine woman. You know, keep that medicine bag on you, keep your herbs on you, keep your essential oils on you, keep your good foods on you so that you can bring yourself around to a state of health and wellness. The next gateway is sacred relationships. And sacred relationships is all about recognizing the things that are toxic in relationships and also recognizing what a healthy relationship looks like so that you can attract that into your life. And the guardian for sacred relationships is Ma'at. Now, the principle of Ma'at is represented or personified as a woman with wings and an ostrich feather on her head. And the ostrich feather represents the Duat scene, which is the scene in the afterlife where your heart, a person's heart, which is representing your soul, your sins, your experiences here in this earthly plane, your heart is weighed against a feather. And if your heart was too heavy because of things that you did not release, or too many things that you did that were out of alignment, that were isfet, which is evil, you would not be able to ascend spiritually. So your heart needed to be lighter than a feather, okay? And that's what the guardian Ma'at is helping you to overcome, how to come back into balance. Ma'at represents balance, reciprocity, truth, order, propriety. And so when those things are not there in your relationships, you experience relationships that are completely out of balance, toxic, and just not good for you whatsoever. The next gateway is about sacred unions, okay? The sacred union gateway is represented by Aset. Now, Aset is personified as a woman with a throne, a seat on her head. And this is deep. Kemetic spirituality is so layered and it goes so deep. So as women, especially in this day and age, there's a lot of talk about women knowing their worth and understanding that you are the table or you are the throne. You are the throne, okay? Aset's complement is Asar, who is represented as an eye over a throne, meaning he is the overseer, the protector, but the woman is the throne. The throne also represents your intelligence, your divine intelligence, and your intuition as a woman, and being in touch with that. When you are in touch with your intuition, nobody can play you. Nobody can play you. Nobody can throw you all over the place and drive you nuts in your relationships. That cannot happen when you understand who you are. So the gateway of BaNAuset is helping you to understand your divine intuition as a woman so that you can have those sacred unions that you desire. The next gateway is the gateway of the sacred lotus woman, and it is all about overcoming being a woman of no vision and becoming a woman with a very clear, powerful vision. And this is guarded by Neferatum. Neferatum is actually depicted as a male, and it represents it's a male with a lotus flower on his head, and the lotus flower represents all that we have been through as people, as African people, coming out of that and completely blossoming into a person or people who are complete. So if you know anything about the lotus flower, it actually forms beneath the water in the mud. The mud, that's all the problems that you've been through. That's all of the hurt that you've been through. That's all of your trials and tribulations. But once it comes up out of the mud and emerges and opens up, it's a beautiful flower. And all the mud that was on it, it's like it never even existed. It's one of the most revered flowers worldwide, actually, the lotus. But it was very prominent in ancient Kemet specifically. And this gateway is all about you understanding your vision, your complete vision, your total vision as a woman, your vision for your life, for your legacy as well. The next gateway is sacred time. So this is all about becoming a woman who is on time, on her purpose, not a woman who is procrastinating. And it is guarded by Seshat. Now, Seshat is represented as a woman with a flower on her head, and she also has a palm leaf with knots on it representing years or time, and she's also a scribe. So Seshat is the librarian. She's also the mathematician. She is the keeper of time. She's a complement to Jehuti as well. So this gateway is all about overcoming procrastination, not going where you need to go in your life, not being on time in your life, and being a woman who is on her purpose and on time. The last gateway is the gateway of sacred work. Many of us may be doing work that is not in alignment with our true purpose and who we are. The gateway of sacred work is guarded by Meshkenet. The Nechadet Meshkenet is represented by a woman, sometimes with the body of it looks like a brick, and it's actually a birthing brick. So Meshkenet was a guide of women through the childbirthing process. Meshkenet was also the Nechadet of faith, who could determine one's destiny. She's personified as a birthing brick, which the women in ancient Kemet used to assist them in giving birth, and the head of a woman with a crown on her head, and the crown is actually a cow's uterus. So that represents Meshkenet's ability to assist a woman through childbirth and birthing your purpose. So in the Sacred Woman community, we call our business our Meshkenet. So these are the 12 gateways that you go through during this 3-month process. And the 3 months is an entire season. This is an entire season of doing something or doing these healing practices consistently. So it now becomes completely entrenched in your life. I will never forget what I learned in Sacred Woman. And I'm going to tell you why it is so important. So in this state of ignorance that I witnessed many Black men and Black women going through without any healing process whatsoever, I also noticed that other groups of people had what's known as rites of passages. I saw the Jewish community, they had their bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. And I saw in the Hispanic community, young girls had their quinceañeras to remind them that you're moving now from a place of being a young girl to being a woman. And I noticed amongst Black people, that we didn't have any of that. I did not see any cultural practice that let a woman know you are now going from being a girl to a woman, and this is how you're supposed to behave as a woman. I didn't see any cultural practices that let a young boy know you're going now from a boy to a man, and this is how a man behaves. And so a lot of us are just moved into the next phase of life, and you by age become a woman or a man, but mentally you're still a child and don't know how to take care of yourself in that way. And I yearned for the knowledge, the cultural knowledge, because a lot of us think that the way that you're going to get healing is you're going to sit in a therapist's office, or you're going to go to the white doctor on the nice side of town and they're going to heal you. If you understand your history, you understand that much of what we are going through is a result of racism and white supremacy. And if you think that you're going to get your healing from the same people who sought to destroy you, that's not a very logical way of going about your own healing. Your healing is in your culture, and that's why that is the mission of Kemetic Wellness Sacred Healing Center, is for you to understand your healing through your own culture. African people worldwide had different things that we did that was a part of our culture, our dance, our foods, the way we relate to each other, our spiritual practices that kept us in alignment. And because we were put in a state of ignorance by a system of racism, we lost those cultural practices. We're regaining them now in this information age, but only for those who are willing to seek that information out. And many of us may be looking for healing in certain things that don't show you or reveal to you who you really are. It's great that you want to go and do Tai Chi, but what does that have to do with you? You know, it's very important to see yourself in your healing. It's great that you want to go and eat healthy and eat Mexican food every single day, but if you're not Mexican, that may not be the best diet for you. And so my teachers in African holistic health reminded me that your healing is in your culture. Your healing is in your culture. So I would really encourage you, as a woman who may be experiencing right now things that reflect a state of ignorance. And I want you to understand that when I use the word ignorant, it's not a negative term. It simply means that you do not know. That's all it means. It's not a derogatory term. I was definitely in a state of ignorance. I was in a state of ignorance over how to fully care for myself, and I did not receive that proper information until I went back to an African rooted culture. And for me, that was the Kemetic spiritual system. There are others out there, and I would encourage you to find a system or a rites of passage program that is culturally rooted, for you to be able to understand yourself, your spirit, your mental way of thinking, your physical health, and your emotions as a woman of African descent, as a Black woman. This is so extremely important for you to experience balance in your life. And for me, Sacred Woman was the program that did that for me. I encourage you to experience the life that you really want, to get the healing that you know that you need. If you know that your emotions are out of control as a woman, if you know that you're not experiencing what you should be experiencing in your relationships with men or with other people, if you know that you don't understand how to have good boundaries, if you know that you don't have a spiritual relationship with yourself and with the divine that is fulfilling you, if you know that you are you are off course from your purpose, or you don't even know what your purpose is, if you know that you don't fully know who you are, you don't fully feel like you've come into yourself or your being, if you don't even believe that you have a purpose, if you speak to yourself or other people in ways that destroy rather than in ways that heal, if you are a woman who is out of alignment, whatever that may look like for you at this moment, I would strongly encourage you to tap into your culture. Your healing is in your culture. And to learn the ways of your culture that can bring you back around to a state of ma'at, a state of balance, and a state of harmony. I hope this video was helpful to you all. For questions, inquiries, you can definitely leave me a comment in the bottom bar. My info to contact me is also going to be in the description bar for consultations or for questions that you have that you may not want to leave here in the comments section. You can find my contact information in the description bar. If this video was helpful to you, definitely give me a like and share the video with someone who you think it would be helpful to. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.